What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Barushmo. Just in case you did not know, so we're back again once again for another video. This time we're talking about some of the prospects in this 2021 NFL draft class that I think are getting a bit too much hype, that I have some real concerns on. Just basically guys I'm not as high on as the NFL, which is a shame. There's a couple of names on this list that I'm like, I really like these prospects. Then I go and look at how some analysts or scouts see them, and I'm like, maybe I don't like him as much as I thought. And that's such a weird thing, because you think you're the biggest fan of some of these prospects, and then you come out and find out, oh my gosh, apparently not. But you got, like, for me, you gotta look at these things, you gotta look at these guys realistically. And I get it, we all have different opinions, but I don't know, I like to think my opinions are grounded in truth. Not saying some people's aren't. I mean, this list is designed to piss you guys off, so have at it. Go ahead, become a bro, and subscribe. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoy the content. And yeah, go ahead and enjoy that nice central football discourse. I'm sure it's going to, in the comment section below, I'm sure it's going to be real rough, at least for me. But let's go ahead and let's dig in to this. And we're going to start off with Joe Tryon, a guy that I'm constantly seeing as a late first round prospect by the NFL. I've warmed up to him a bit. I got him midday 2, so that like late second, early third area. I get why the NFL really likes him. Like, this edge class, essentially, it's just a bunch of guys with either ridiculous upside or these potential elite traits. And the same can be said about Tryon, man. He ended up opting out of the 2020 season, but this is a guy with huge physical upside. He is strong, he is powerful, and Levi Ozariki has said he has only gotten stronger, which is great, but it really wasn't his weak. It really wasn't an area of weakness for him. You know, he probably has one of the better bull rushes in this whole class. My real concern is just how raw and unrefined he is as a pass rusher. Because if you go back to his 2019 tape, man, a lot of the times he seems lost out there, like especially in the run game. Quite often he would have no idea where the ball is in the backfield, and even then he would have a hard time disengaging from blocks, or even if he was free, he would basically just run himself out of the play. He would just take poor angles to get to the ball carrier. In terms of a pass rusher, though, like I said, extremely powerful, but he doesn't have too many moves other than that. The one game in 2019 he had against probably good competition was BYU, and they shut him down. Like, he was basically a non-factor against BYU, especially like tackling was one of his worst performances yet. So there's another area you could say of concern, is just him as a tackler. But like often, like and I point to that game specifically because you would see it a ton, where he would, like, he's got a quick get off, and he would essentially win the first part of the play. He would be pushing these guys back. But I talked about it earlier, in the run game, he has trouble basically disengaging from blocks, getting off the blocks, and he would just get stuck there. It's like, oh, that's nice, you're pushing the guy back, but then what? So again, great physical upside on this guy, but I think there's just some other prospects in this class that have shown at least more polish in terms of what they can do as pass rushers. So on to our next guy, and it's Jalen Mayfield. Of course it's Jalen Mayfield. Y'all know how I feel about Jalen Mayfield. But it's gotten a bit better. I got him as a midday 2 prospect, so that mid to late second round area, potentially early third. But a lot of people peg him as a first rounder, like a shoe-in as a first rounder. And I get it. I understand. I see what they're talking about, because a lot of people are very high on just the dude's super powerful. He's got a great athletic, or a great physical profile for tackle. It's just I don't think we've seen glimpses of it here and there. Another guy that he initially opted out of the 2020 season, but he came back for 2 games. Didn't really face much competition in those games, but he only played on the right side. He's only played right tackle, and that's significant because typically you're like the college football, they're a bit more traditional in how defenses come. Like they're a little bit more simplistic. They'll have their best edge rushers typically on the blind side of the quarterback. So he was often facing the second best pass rusher for each team. In the Big 12, they're a bit more ambiguous when it comes to that, but everyone and their mom will point to the Ohio State game, be like, man, he played Chase Young pretty good for those 3 to 4 snaps that he actually faced Chase Young. So how do you do against the rest of the team? Oh, he allowed 7 pressures. This is the thing, man. His play was pretty inconsistent. That's why I brought up him only starting at right tackle his whole career. So we only have 1 season plus 2 games to really base that off of. I will give him benefit of the doubt, man. In their bowl game against Alabama, he looked pretty darn good, and that's probably one of, like, next to the Chase Young tape, that is probably the second tape they pop in and they're like, ooh. And that's probably what they get. What gets analysts or scouts or whoever's watching this guy like really salivating. But he's still a guy in terms of how he uses his hands. He's not there yet. Very powerful, but if he faces a guy that that has pretty good hand usage in their own right, like he's gonna get beat. So that's why I've seen him projected at some places, maybe initially starting off at guard, which I think would be a good move. But for me, he's not a first round talent, though I do like the power. I do like, there's a lot of parts that I've come around with, like, yeah, you know what, he is a pretty solid prospect, but I don't think I'm ever going to be first round high on this guy. Next on the list is Sage Surratt. Why is Sage Surratt on this list? You may be asking, because he's slow. He's slow as molasses. There we go. The guy, I got a 5th round grade on him. This typically I have these basically I have these contested catch receivers typically are 4th, 5th round grades for me. Like if you struggle to get separation, you better be pretty darn good at the contested catch, which he was. He was I think 18 of 30 on contested catch opportunities throughout his career, which is really good. But again, he's significantly slower than any of those other contested catch prospects. Like I think the highest I've been on, like in recent memory, on a contested catch guy would probably be Michael Pittman from 2020. And even then, like if you want to make a comparison to a guy in this class like Seth Williams, who I have ranked higher, not much higher, but higher than Surratt, who's also going to be probably a contested catch guy who struggles to get separation. But he's like, in terms of just him overall as an athlete, is way better. Like his contested catch numbers are pretty trash, Williams. Like he could have made this list easy. I put a bit of that on Bo Nix, but he has a knack for the highlight catch. So it's like, you know, those hands are there, just about making him more reliable. But at least he's just not as slow. Like Surratt, so many times when you go back to see his tape, he is caught from behind with ease, or he is breaking wide open on a catch and he's just caught from behind like that. It's really discouraging. I think he only had a 50% win rate at the Senior Bowl, which, I mean, at Senior Bowl, those drills are designed for receivers to really flex and look good on, and nothing really made him stand apart. And then on top of that, again, with not being fast, being a contested catch guy, he's extremely physical, almost too physical to the point you worry, is this guy going to be a pass interference like waiting to happen? So those are my gripes with Surratt. And NFL, you'll constantly see him in the 3rd. I wouldn't. And then Patrick Jones, I think this is one everyone's starting to agree on. You don't see him in the 1st round anymore, which is good on you. But you will probably see him in the 2nd, 3rd round in some mocks. And I got a 5th round grade on him. I'm not that impressed as in terms of what he brings as a prospect, as an edge rusher. A lot of guys will probably just point to the sack totals. He had 9 this year, 10 the year before. He's got a good frame, 6'5", 260, 265, I believe. But overall, his length, like he's got sub arm length for the position. Like I think he's like 32-inch arms. He had one of the worst win rates. This should have cemented how you feel in Stone. He had one of the worst win rates at the Senior Bowl. I think it was like 11%. And again, this is one of the guys that I'm just like, he's constantly a late to the party, gets all the attention type of pass rusher. He's not creating pressure by himself. A lot of that was thanks to Rashad Weaver, even Cam Bright coming in on blitzes from the linebacker position. He wasn't creating that pressure himself. He was just simply there, like eventually there. Like he's got a great motor, like technically very sound. A lot of these Pittsburgh guys are. When you look at Twyman and Weaver, it's just there's nothing impressive about him. There's no wow. And that's why I got the 5th round grade, man. But I'm sure a lot of y'all probably agree with me on that. Kellen Mond, man. I know some people love Kellen Mond. They think he could be a 3rd rounder. I've seen him in 2nd round in some mocks because he had a good Senior Bowl. Well, guess what? Senior Bowl is made to look quarterbacks look really good. Quarterbacks with a bit of arm talent look good. That's why like Herbert decided to attend. He was like, oh man, this last year for me didn't look so great at Oregon. So yeah, I'm gonna go to the Senior Bowl and people are gonna fall in love with my arm talent. And that happened to be the case. Mond doesn't have that arm talent necessarily. In terms, like, I don't think there's anything special about his arm. He's got good arm strength, but like in terms of his accuracy, it's whatever. Like you may look at his actual completion percentage, be like, oh, it's not that bad. Like it's actually pretty solid. But he was playing in a zone or in a system that really asked him to just make all these underneath throws. Like just this year, he only had 32 throws of 20 plus yards or more. The year before, where he had over 120 more attempts, he only took that shot 37 times. The guy doesn't attack downfield. He doesn't take chances. And it's not because it's not that I think his arm can't. He just doesn't. A lot of the pluses, he came from the pro style offense. They're playing in the Jimbo Fisher offense, so a lot of people see that as a plus. But for me, nothing. Like he has been a starter for the past 3 seasons, and nothing has wowed me. Every year, I'm waiting for him to take that next step to make those throws. Like he doesn't make special throws. Like I feel like he's at this plateau. In terms of development, he is what he is. Like what you saw at the Senior Bowl is exactly what you're getting. That's probably going to be the high end of what you'll see him being able to do in the NFL. So again, a guy there's some pluses there, but overall I'm not wowed. So I got a 5th round grade on him. I know a lot of people are way higher on him than I am, but again, dude, this guy relied way too much on his playmakers underneath in 2020. It just, for me, overall wasn't impressive. Back to the receivers, Nico Collins, and I kind of wanted, I should have put Nico Collins right after Sage Surratt because I really did want to, I should have talked about these guys back to back because he's another bigger receiver who doesn't really necessarily get that separation. He hasn't really been put in a lot of contested catch opportunities, but he's got adequate hands. He opted out of the 2020 season. A lot of people might want to like pin his, because he's never had good production. Like he only had 700 some yards in 2019. He only had 600 in 2018. Everyone was waiting for that breakout season and it never came. And people put that on the quarterback play, but at some point it's like you just kind of like watch what he does as a receiver, and it's just he doesn't get great separation. Like he's got decent shiftiness for a bigger receiver, but again, like he just doesn't break free of guys unless like on these longer routes, because he's got some good like long field speed. Like I think he's going to be a good guy in the intermediate, guy you could get on a post, and he could get a little separation, but like his win rate at the Senior Bowl, 50%, same as Sage Surratt, so not that impressed. Just not a lot wows me. I don't think he had the, like, I feel like he might get the Donovan Peoples-Jones treatment where he might end up going in the 3rd round, but I'm not nearly high on him as a lot of the other receivers in this class, because this is a jam-packed class. This is the thing. You're going to have to nitpick to separate these guys in terms of what you're looking for. So for me, another guy with the 5th round, and I didn't include Seth Williams on this list because Seth Williams, I got him ahead of both these guys. Seth Williams was a guy I feel like I put him in my overrated at the beginning of the year, but overall I'm kind of okay. I like his potential, but man, Collins, it was a guy I've been waiting to break out for consecutive years, and it's just, especially with him opting out, it hasn't. He didn't impress me like I wanted him to impress me at the Senior Bowl. It never happened for us. Maybe some other day, Collins. Jay Tufele, another guy I've had to defend myself on. People were really high on him as a 1st round prospect, talking about he's the best interior talent. I think a lot of people have moved off that position since then, but you'll still find him 2nd, 3rd round in mocks. I got him as a 4th rounder, and I think that's good for him. Like he opted out of the 2020 season. I think he really needed this season to kind of prove that he's improved in certain areas, because like I know a lot of people love this guy because he's super agile for a 305 pounder. He's got good get off the line of scrimmage, but there's really no power to his game. He doesn't play with strength. Not saying he's weak, he just doesn't play strong. Like in the run game, you would often see him get just bullied. That just happened to be the case. That's why Marlon Tuipulotu, I got him higher, because again, he may have kind of broke out as a pass rusher, but his bread and butter was the run game, dude. Dude's was an exceptionally solid run defender. But Tufele, man, he's only got a variety of, like, he only has maybe a handful of actual pass rush moves there on the interior. Not that you really need a lot of them, but I just really wanted to see him take the next step in 2020, and not even being able to participate in the Senior Bowl. I feel like the stars just didn't align. I really wanted to see him this season. Wasn't able to. Well, he wasn't eligible for the Senior Bowl, so I think the 4th round is a much safer grade for a guy like Tufele, especially in an interior class that might not be all that hot. And then Ronnie Perkins is on this list, and I hate it. I hate what the NFL, like these NFL mocks have done with Ronnie Perkins, because I feel like they've blown him up, man. Like when I saw him in a 1st round mock, I was like, I thought I liked this guy, because I think he's like a borderline 2nd, maybe 3rd, definitely 3rd round, but maybe get into that late 2nd round conversation. And when I saw him in, I forgot whose 1st round mock, I was just like, the flip, man. I like the guy. Why? How? Because to me, he's better Quincy Roche, because he can actually play the run game. Like, he's pretty good at converting speed to power, but like throughout this whole season, he was solid in the run game. Like, you can keep this guy on the field early on downs, opposed to Roche, who I feel like you just can't. You can't do that with him. Ryan Perkins, very explosive off the edge. We saw that against Tevin Jenkins. Everyone just shows that one rep. That one rep he had on Tevin Jenkins, it's like, see? That's it. But like, if you go back and actually like look at Perkins's his actual tape this year, like half of his or a third of his pressures came in one game against Kansas. 2/3 of his sacks, so 2 of his 3 sacks came in that same game. He unloaded on Kansas, which it's like, okay, he was fairly solid in the rest of the games. Don't get me wrong. Like, again, you could point to that Oklahoma game where he had that one rep on Tevin Jenkins. Granted, Tevin Jenkins is more of a, hey, I'm gonna ragdoll guys. This guy's hitting me with speed, and he got the best of him one time. Just gonna say that. The Florida game, he was pretty solid though, 4 pressures. But he didn't really have to face like I said, he didn't face great competition like Tevin Jenkins again that one time last year. But there are like, and that's what concerns me, man. That's what concerns me. So another guy that he relies a lot on his speed and might not have the cleanest get-offs once he meets a blocker at the point of attack. So I like him a lot. I don't want to have to like talk bad about him. I think he like you have like these top tier, like I think he's in this third tier of edge rushers, because you have your guys that have those special traits. I'm talking like Kwity Paye, I'm talking Ojulari, got the physical upside of Rousseau, those guys, Jalen Phillips. And then you have this next tier of guys that I think they're probably safe options that they will kind of translate, the Carlos Bashams here, which I think you could actually fit him. Like I would draft him around Carlos Basham now that I think about it. I like Boogie a lot. But yeah, man. I didn't want to have to make this about Perkins. I like Perkins, man. I'm done with this. Let's go to the next guy. Kelvin Joseph out of Kentucky, man. His stock got inflated big time. I don't I get it. If you're looking at that the Alabama game, yeah, he looked pretty darn good. But the rest of his production this year, it's kind of been all over the place. Like Ole Miss just totally ripped this guy for 2 touchdowns. I mean, look, Vandy too. Like, yeah, he allowed what almost 100 yards against Vandy. Like, yeah, like he was super inconsistent. Granted, this is his only year as a starter. He was a transfer from LSU. And even Daniel Jeremiah came out and said the reason for the transfer was potentially disciplinary. So like he was given potentially one of those you could either get suspended or transfer type of I guess deals or options. But I understand why people like him. He's got decent size. If he could get closer to 200, that'd be a bit more ideal, especially for a press man corner. But again, if you look at the whole tape, I'm not nearly as impressed. Like even against Auburn, against freaking Bo Nix, he allowed a touchdown over 100 yards. Like there's like bits and pieces where it's like that's a bit worrisome. So that's why I got him early 4th round. Like I like the skill set. Again, for a first-year starter, I think he was fine. Like fine enough. But to go like earlier than that for me, I feel like you're really reaching at that point. I think there's much better guys in the draft. I was originally going to put Eric Stokes here because everyone and their mom just doesn't get how I'm not high on Eric Stokes. And I'll kind of explain it. Like I still think Eric Stokes, he's that midday 2 type of corner. Like he's got good athleticism. I don't think he's nearly as athletic as Tyson Campbell. But like again, people will be like, "Oh, Stokes is way better than Campbell," and I totally disagree. Like Stokes was constantly facing the other team's number 2 receiver because Campbell had to face the number 1. Stokes, he doesn't really like, he plays that Georgia type of coverage where it's like you get real handsy and you worry about how that translates to the NFL. But because I mean that becomes defensive pass interference in the NFL. But at the same time, like playing that press coverage, he doesn't often get his head around at times to actually make a play on the ball. I don't think he has any ball skills like I think Campbell does, or at least Campbell has the ability to. And people point to his 4 interceptions, and guess how did those interceptions come about? 2 were overthrows, the other 2 were miscommunications between the quarterback and wide receiver. So they were more fluky than actual ball skills. I like Stokes. Some people just seem to be higher on him than I. That's just it, I guess. And then the final guy on this list, I feel like it's kind of a fan favorite. It's going to be Hufanga, the safety out of USC. You'll see him kind of late day 2. A lot of people think he's one of the better safety prospects in this class. I got a midday 3 grade on him. I think he's probably going to be better at linebacker. He did grade out particularly well this season, but some of the concerns I have with him are like his movement skills. I don't think he has any. He doesn't really like stop and go like pretty well. Which, I mean, moving to the linebacker position, then now you're in an area where you have to be taken off the field and pass coverage. But what he does good, he can get off blocks. Like, he was a pretty solid pass rusher this past season. Last 2 seasons actually, he's had 6 sacks, 19 pressures, and that's only coming off of what, 79 pass rush. That's wild, man. That's great for a linebacker. And he plays well in the run game. He comes downhill. Like his straight line speed is pretty solid. He comes downhill, and he comes downhill like with steam, which is nice for your linebacker. I just don't think and that's the thing for me. Like, I drool over linebackers that are great in coverage. That's why I'm not that high on KJ Britt. Just happens to be the case. And kind of the cherry on top of this is he had 2 broken collarbones during his time at USC, so he had to he's missed significant time because of that. So then you got an injury concern there as well. But I like the guy, but not any more than a day 3 in my opinion. But yeah, that's it for the video. Let me know who you're not high on in this class, and let me know why I'm wrong in the comment section below. But until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.